welcome to New York.
Thanks.
Guys, this is Blair Duquesne, and where are you going with that? Blair is in town from New Orleans. Blair is our representative in the South. Would you say that's the right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're doing a bunch of media. You're a big rock star now. So I wanted to ask you about the op-ed that everyone's talking about, where you basically said, look at other industries. Everyone's gotten better with gender equality, and in this industry, nothing's changed. So what percentage of financial advisors are female? Is it 18?
Less than 20%.
Okay.
And that's the same as it was when I started 15 years ago.
Like it has not budged at all. What's your reason for why our industry seems to be different from medicine, law, all these other industries where things have progressed faster, I guess?
I think the career path is clear. If you go to medical school, you're going to be a doctor. If you go into accounting, you follow a very clear path.
Okay.
And
like you understand ahead of time what the steps are and where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't say the same thing about financial advice?
No.
Or wealth management, or?
I feel like it's just kind of go in there and hunt, or be on the operations side. There's the whole back office, front office, and there's no career path. There's no, if you do this, you will make it here. It's very nebulous, in my opinion. And
so it's sales, and people don't sign up to be part of a sales process necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what about for analysts? What about for like CEOs, or is it all just about I either want to sell securities or I don't, or is there room for some kind of
I think we're finally getting AAA firms like ours to the point of maturity where these firms can hire professionals who want to be financial planners and
like
allow
managers
them to grow their client base.
Okay.
Whereas before it was just a whole bunch of founders who were the rainmakers, and you had to be working for that person.
Right.
And so there was really no career path other than to just work for that person until they retire, which is never.
So when you put this thing out, and for anyone that hasn't read it, we'll put a link below, but when you put this thing out, it seems like the knee-jerk reaction was all based on the headline. So it was like fire your mail broker, or whatever the headline was. Consider, and then I guess the knee-jerk response from everyone was, it's reverse sexism, but like you don't get to choose the headline, right? Like the editor always, like anyone that has ever contributed something written knows that that's the case. And then people didn't even read it. They just and then people started to read it, and I think that outrage calmed down. Would you say that's accurate?
I think so. I mean, the only negative comments that I got were either on the New York Times section where they were anonymous or I didn't know who they were.
Right.
In most of the reaction for
Did you read the comments?
Only a few.
Never read the comments.
Only a few. I know you're not supposed to, but I was
Well,
curious.
did you expect there to be something good in the comments?
Did I harp on it? No.
Okay, good.
So.
All right. But then nobody really wrote anything to counter you.
No.
Because what could they say?
Everyone in the industry knows it. Everybody nodded their head.
Right, the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah.
They don't have to like the way that you phrase things, but they can't change the reality. It is what it is.
And you know what? Nobody would have read that article if it was, we need more women financial advisors. So that was the genius of the New York Times in picking sort of a salacious title to get everybody's attention.
And it definitely did.
Yeah.
And people were reaching out to me like, wow, like people were really blown away by it. So I thought that was cool. Do you have any steps to fix this that you would recommend, like to anyone that's paying attention that actually cares?
I think we have to reach young women before they make their career decision, before they start on the pre-med track or the law school track, to let them know this is a great job for women. It's really fun, it's fulfilling, it's a work-life balance that doesn't exist in some other places. I mean, physicians are working overnight.
So how do you do that though? You do that in college?
Or before. They've got to see more women financial advisors. There's not enough women that are out there. When you watch television, when you see the news, there's just not enough women financial advisors out there for people to know, like, this is something that I could be.
So I was at a conference last year, and the guy, I think it was Chip Rome at Tiburon, and he's like the foremost authority on the statistics within the industry. Like he could quote to you how many people under 35 work in financial advice, how many women work in insurance. Like he knows all that stuff. And he just said, look around the room, it's all C-level executives. And he goes, don't look at me. You are a reflection of the industry. There, you know, if you notice there are no women in the room, if you notice there are no people of color in the room, it's your fault. You are the C-level people, and the industry looks like what this room looks like. I didn't hand select. You know, I said CEOs and CFOs attend the conference, and look what happened. So he kind of like put the mirror on the room. And if you're a young person looking at that room, you probably say, this isn't an industry for me. Yeah. If nobody looks anything like you. Yeah. So I think that's a really good point.
It has to come from the top down. People have to stop hoping that they're going to find women. They have to go out and find them. They have to have that mentality. We're going to hire more women.
Now, here's one thing that I hear that's a little bit of pushback to that. People say there are plenty of women working in the RIA space. They tend to own their own firms because they were so entrepreneurial to even get into this to begin with that they quickly realized they can just manage their own business. And your former employer was a woman who owned an RIA. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's an excuse and not really based in reality? I haven't looked at the data, but that's like a thing that I hear.
I mean, look what happened here. You put up the blog that said we failed to hire enough women, which got my attention, which is the reason I ended up coming over here.
Right.
And you had some other conversations, but we haven't hired more women yet. So I'm not saying it's that easy. It's
right.
not as simple, but
it's not easy.
You do have to be, as you were, open and honest about it and say, we are going to do this.
Now, what do you say to the people that say, I would love to hire more female financial advisors, but because there are so few, they're harder to hire, harder to find, mm-hmm. or geographically, there aren't any near me, or, you know, my clients don't care, they just want somebody that's a good advisor and cares about that. Like, is there even like a righteous answer to that, or do we just maybe have to accept that it's always going to be hard? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the right answer to that is. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm focused more on the supply side. You have to have more women that want to be financial advisors.
Okay.
It's a push and pull.
Okay.
It's got to go both directions.
So what's your next op-ed about? What's the next thing you want to burn some buildings down over? Anything that's particularly sticking out in your mind, or?
Well, I got a lot of pushback on the terminology, broker, advisor. That is
you should write
a topic that we can't reach the public with. We all in the advisor community know the difference. The public still uses the words interchangeably. Maybe the New York Times would be the place where we actually get their attention and say, there's a difference between a broker and an advisor.
Because I've seen that before. I've seen that written. Like, do you have a broker or an advisor, and what's the difference? But it's usually a 3-paragraph article, and only people in the industry read it. Mm-hmm. You're right, the New York Times platform, if they were to do the definitive version of how to tell the difference, I would read the hell out of that.
Yeah, I don't know what the salacious headline's going to be though, but.
Yeah, brokers are evil, advisors are great, would not be fair.
Right.
I've seen that written a million times.
Yeah.
All right, you leave the headline to me. You write the piece. Not that they're going to let us choose it anyway. What else are you doing while you're in New York? You're doing some media, you're doing some client meetings, you're doing what
all
else?
Of the above, seeing some clients.
You're doing some yoga?
I am definitely doing some yoga. I'm staying at the yoga studio in Brooklyn, and I'm going to do Jill Schlesinger on CBS Radio. So. All
right, well, we all love the op-ed, and I'm going to link to it in the notes below in case anyone didn't read it. And this has been Blair Duquesne, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, glad to be here.